Okay, welcome back. All right. In the last class, we talked about pure functions and functions that do not have side effects. And I want to make something clear. In the last class, there was a problem in my example. My examples weren't working, and it is because of something we call value types and reference types. Okay, but it will confuse you. All right. Sorry for dragging you around that. Okay, but later you will understand later. It's just that in that parameters, okay, especially the integers, the string, and the primitive parameters, they are passed in as value types, okay? And when you do that, you're actually having a copy of it instead of maybe a pointer, but that is a class for another day. I don't want to disturb you with that, okay? So pardon me for my last example that didn't really work the way I wanted it to work. Okay, so today we'll be talking about functions doing only a single thing. You should make sure that your functions only do one thing at a time. It is advisable that you write a function that does one thing. If you ever find yourself writing a function that has complex codes and you're writing comments to be explaining what is happening there, or you have a function and the name is add this and this, or fetch data and do this, it is a red flag, okay? Always make sure that your function does one particular thing. Let me give us an example, okay? Let me give us an example. Let's say I want a function that checks if the user's username is correct or is valid, okay? I can write this function and say, I am returning a bool, okay? And I'll say is username valid? I should only use this function to check. I should only use this function to check for username, not for. So this is the username the user will give us. So I will say return. My logic can just be, it will be different from your logic anyway. But let's say I want to check that the username, okay, return username equal to person. Sorry about this, I will have to fix that. Okay. Return username equal to person. I'm just hard coding the username here. Okay. The username can come from user's input or something. But now, instead of, this is a good one, it is just doing one thing, only one thing. But it will be very bad if I now say is username and password valid. It is wrong. Okay, you can do this, but it's not recommended. It's not a good practice. Okay, your functions should do only one single thing. Right here, I am not checking is username and password valid. That means I will not have to return username, and I will not say, I will not have to bring in here. I will not say this one and this is the password. I will not have to check return this equal to this and password equal, sorry, and password equal to, let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. In as much as I'm hard coding the values of the username and the password, the point I'm trying to make here is this. Look at this function now. It is doing two things at a time. It is checking whether the username is valid, and it's also checking whether the password is valid. You should break it down. Instead of having this, you should have, let me just copy this. You should have is username valid? Is username valid? Then you now have another function that will validate your password. The next, you can break it down into two functions, and the second one will be is password valid. So you're only checking for one at a time. Okay, so this function does one thing, not two things. You can see the difference here. Okay. The first one we are having is that is username and password valid? It is doing two things. It is checking for the password and also for the username. But we have to break it down into two functions. So always try to make sure that your functions do one single thing. If you find your function having and in the name, it does this and it also does this, it's a red flag. Okay, and also if you have if your code, some people say don't write more than 10 lines in a function or more than 20 lines in a function. Okay, but don't let your functions to be too long. Imagine now which one is more readable, which one is easier to understand. This one, this single ones, or this one. This one is harder. The first one is harder to understand. Meanwhile, the second and the third one, they are very simple to understand. So make sure that your functions are always simple. They're always doing one thing. They're always doing one thing, okay? Okay? Make sure your functions are very simple. They're always doing one thing. And don't write code. Don't make your functions to be too complex, okay? Find a way to break them down into smaller functions, okay? Thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next class.